The Indy 500 is the greatest race in the world.
These are cars that represent almost a rolling history book of American motorsport.
Indianapolis is forever attached to your name. If you win that race, you are immortalized on the Borg-Warner Trophy. There's no other event like that.
There's hardly anybody that you can talk to across the country that doesn't know about the Indy 500 and understands the significance of the technology that racing has an influence on, and I just fell head over heels over that.
I think Gary has a natural love of IndyCars because he's an Indy guy. He's been here most of his life. He's been to many, many Indy 500s, so it's kind of a natural thing that he is a lover of all things Indy.
My collection is geared around roadsters mainly. I was primarily interested in real documented cars. Most all of mine are real documented cars that actually raced with significant drivers. Parnelli Jones's '98 car was my first one.
Parnelli Jones tried to buy the original race-winning Ol Calhoun from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, which was a non-starter. They weren't going to sell it. So he decided to commission a replica. This has the candy apple blue and candy apple red on it that is authentic to that car.
A.J. Foyt may be the most legendary driver to ever drive the Indy 500. He was the first four-time winner of the race, and to have one of his cars that he drove at Indy, a huge factor in this collection.
It's a 1959 Epperly car. Foyt drove it in '60 to the national championship. It's a real car. It's been fabulously restored.
From a driver perspective, from a historic perspective, if you pick two guys that you want to have significant cars in your collection, A.J. Foyt is one. Mario Andretti, also a must-have.
The great thing about the Mario Andretti cars is that this was his introduction to Newman Haas racing. So you had this powerhouse team come together in 1983, and we just happened to have the 1983 car. Mario kept making suggestions to changes, and by the end of the year, the Lola had won 2 races and set them on the path to future success. We have a later version of a Lola, the T86-00.
The main reason I've got them is that I can still start them and drive them. And Newman Haas got them ready and tagged them accordingly.
So Gary really enjoys the front-engined Indy cars, and he's got everything starting from a 1949 into the 1960s. And he decided to branch out a little bit in recent years, and he's also added rear-engine cars to this collection. One of the truly significant cars is the 1966 Lola that Jackie Stewart drove.
It was destined to win and blew a hole in the oil cooler, and sister car to it with Graham Hill driving ended up winning. It's another car that's impeccably put together.
You can see by that 1969 car that Al Unser drove was that the technology and the race cars was changing.
Al Unser, of course, 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, kind of an understated guy. And so in 1969, it was Vels Parnelli Jones' first race with Al Unser. And they're getting ready for the Indianapolis 500. It's a couple weeks before the race. Parnelli and Al are kind of messing around on motorcycles, and Al breaks his leg. The unfortunate thing about that is Al Unser probably had the car to win the race that year, and he would prove that the next 2 years with the development of the car that Gary has as he won back-to-back Indianapolis 500.
You have to ask yourself, how many four-wheel drive cars does you see at Indianapolis? It's a brute. I mean, when it starts up, it's like 3 or 4 monkeys on your chest beating on it, so it's a fabulous piece.
Janet Guthrie was amazing. A lot of people don't know she was a pilot, she was a flight instructor, and she became famously the very first woman to qualify and make the race at the Indy 500 in 1977. This car is significant in Janet Guthrie history because it's the last of the cars that she drove at Indy. She drove 3 times, 77, 78, and 79. And this is that 79 car.
Ray Abraham found the car, restored the car. We ran it last year at Raceway Park. We were working towards indoctrinated into the Library of Congress. And all the work's been done in terms of documentation, video documentation to take it to the next level.
Before A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti were household names, Roger Ward was the man to beat at the Indianapolis 500.
He had won the 562 and then won the national championship, which was awarded the #1 insignia for 63. And it's another car that is impeccably taken care of. It's got the original Offie engine in it. It does have an onboard starter, and the only purpose of that is if you're out running, after you once get it started with a gear drive starter, then you can restart it after it's warm with an onboard starter. It's a great piece to drive.
To see that Gary has acquired these cars and is keen on preserving not only the car, but the stories and the history behind the car. I know he wishes he could have a 33 car field, but this is a pretty impressive lineup.
You realize how important this time is, and it's never going to go away. Cars that Foyt and Unser and Andretti drove, I mean, they are engineering marvels, and I'm a mechanic by trade, and I understand how important they are, and they have to be treated as such.
I think we owe Gary Runyon a debt of gratitude that he is one of the people that is making these cars a part of history that we can see, that we can touch, and yeah, we can even hear them because they start up and run.
My hope is that they get in the hands of people that have a passion just like I have and participate. I've had the time of my life owning them and participating with them, just time to pass them on to somebody else.